In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to reduce your financial stress by showing you the 5 steps in what's called adaptive financial management. Once you understand these steps and you know what to focus on, financial management becomes much easier and you'll start feeling more secure today. With that being said, let's jump into it. The key to making financial management work for you is focus. Now, when you organize your finances with purpose, everything becomes clearer and easier. And in this first step, we'll simplify your finances by breaking it down into 3 categories. The first category is day-to-day money, the second category is money for future you, and the third category is risk management. Day-to-day money covers your income and your everyday expenses, so things like rent and groceries and bills. It's basically the money that keeps your day-to-day life running smoothly. So money for future you is all about planning ahead. It includes short-term savings, retirement contributions, and debt payments. Now, when it comes to the 5 steps in adaptive financial management, the very first thing that you need to do is only put the minimums into these categories. So you can see here on like a 401k, this person gets a 3% match. Only put that in at this stage. At a Roth IRA, put a minimum towards that, which we recommend doing $50 a month. If you have an HSA account, put $50 a month there. And then at this stage, when you come down here to debts, only put the required minimum payments. You'll be putting more of these categories later, but for now, for step 1, only put those minimums. Risk management is what protects your financial plan. It includes insurance and other safeguards to help you ensure that your financial management strategy stays on track no matter what life throws at you. By organizing your money into these 3 categories, you'll have the foundation of a system that's simple, effective, and helps you make smarter decisions. After this first step, that means putting the minimums to each one of these categories, you'll also see how much you have of available funds, which is the big part of the next step, step number 2. So in this second step, you start by listing all your goals and you prioritize them. Maybe your number 1 goal is a safer down payment. Maybe it's paying off student loans, or maybe it's tackling credit card debt. You rank them in order and then focus all your available money on that number 1 goal. Once you achieve that goal, you move on to the next one. The key here is focus. By concentrating on 1 goal at a time, you get results faster and avoid feeling overwhelmed by multiple goals, which leads a lot of people to burn out and stop doing anything in terms of financial management. Now, step number 3 is where most people fail. And the reason is because they build a financial plan and they feel like they have a good plan, but that's not good enough. You need to actually know that you have a good plan. And the only way to do that is by simulating it. And that's what this step is all about. Simulating your financial plan so that way you'll have the confidence that you're doing the right thing. Now, when you simulate it, there's 4 key things that you should be looking at. Now, the first thing is you want an easy way to summarize what happens to your plan in the long run. The way we do this at FitBUX is we combine all your data into one data point we call the FitBUX score. And your goal is to make sure that that score goes up when you follow your plan and that it stays up. So that's the first thing you need to look at, is a high-level overview of what happens in the long run. The second thing to look at is how much you'll have in savings and assets over time, so you see what this will look like into the future when you're 50 years old or 60 years old and going into retirement. The third item is your projection of paying off debt. How soon will you be debt-free? The last thing to look at is your goals. Are you hitting the goals that you set out to achieve in the time period that you wanted to achieve them in? One of the most powerful parts of simulation is comparing 2 different plans. For example, let's say you plan to pay off your student loans quickly, but then you simulate going onto PSLF because you work at a nonprofit. You can see that while you'd have your loans for an extra 2 years, you might end up with significantly more money in the long run, which would then turn around and potentially change your mind against paying them off fast and instead going on public service loan forgiveness because you can visualize the difference. The goal is to figure out what's most important to you and tailor your financial management strategy to complement the life that you want to live. And by doing step 3 and simulating your plan, You're not just hoping your plan is going to work, you're confirming that it's going to work. And this step gives you the confidence and clarity knowing you're on the right path to achieve your goals. Now, we're going to cover the most important goal in just a moment. But first, let's make sure that you have the right financial products to bring your plan to life. And that's what we're going to discuss in step number 4. This next step is making sure you have all the right financial products in place. And that's the whole reason why we did steps 1 through 3 first in the adaptive financial management method. Because now that you went steps 1 through 3, you know exactly which type of financial products you need. So you might have to open up a Roth IRA, refinance your student loans, or do a balance transfer with your credit cards. But it's not just about having the right products, it's about using them correctly. So that way everything in your financial management strategy is connected. And if you miss a detail, it can affect your entire strategy. I'm going to give you an example of this because we see this all the time. If you're married and using an income-driven repayment plan for your student loans, and you file your taxes separately, you can't contribute directly to a Roth IRA. Instead, you have to use what's called a backdoor Roth IRA to ensure everything aligns with your plan. It's these small but important details that make a big difference in the financial outcome over time. And so now that we've gone through steps 1 through 3, and we've gotten the right products in step number 4, it's time to go on to step number 5, which is actually the most important step in the adaptive financial management strategy. Now, this last step has actually 4 components. And if you recall, back in step number 2, I said that there's 2 goals when it comes to adaptive financial management. The second goal is the first component of step number 5, and it's the most important thing that you can do in financial management. That first component is increasing how much you're doing to money for future self over time. Whether that's increasing your investments or paying off your debt faster, every small increase adds up over time. So for example, let's just say that you were investing $100 a month and you did that for 40 years. After 40 years, all you would have is about $350,000 in the long run. If you do the same thing, but all you do is increase how much you're doing every month by $25. So this year you do $100 a month, next year you do $125 a month, the year after that you do $150. By increasing that amount, that money to future self, you end up with $1.2 million. That's how important this step is, and this first component of increasing how much money you're doing to money for future self. Component number 2 is tracking your progress. Now, you don't have to go in and track every single expense. This part shouldn't take hours. It should be quick and easy to do. You go in, you update the balances on your assets and debts, and then you enter the key transactions. So things like, I contributed this much to my 401k, I contributed this much to my Roth IRA, and I paid off this much to my student loans. By doing this, you can make sure that everything is still on pace, and you can go back to living your life without spending hours nickel and diming everything because you're focused on what's important. The third component in step number 5 is adjusting your plan for life events. So when something major happens, like buying a car, having a child, or getting a new job, you just need to revisit your plan and adjust it accordingly. Again, this should be quick as well. So for example, if I just bought a new car, I go in and I go back through the steps. Step 1, I put the minimums in, including my car payment. I go to step 2 to prioritize my goals. Step 3 to simulating it, say what product do I need, and then go back to tracking. And the fourth component of step 5 is monitoring any major economic changes. So things like tax laws, interest rates, student loan repayment plans, they can change over time too. So for example, interest rates just recently went down. Now might be a good time to refinance your student loans. Or maybe it's time to go into like a CD instead of a money market account. So these economic things can change over time, and you just need to be constantly aware of them. So to summarize step number 5, by consistently increasing your contributions to money for future self and keeping your plan updated as life and economics change, you're building a financial system that grows with you, which is why we call this the adaptive financial management system. So now that you've seen how these steps work, I want to show you how this works in real life. For that, be sure to watch this case study coming up next.